I doubt that Trump was a target directly of any kind of eavesdropping, but I'm not saying it didn't happen. I think there's a very good chance it does. I don't have any special information, but the way it works is the FISA court, through Section 702, wiretaps foreigners and then listens to Americans. It's a backdoor search of Americans, and because they have so much data, they can type Donald Trump into their vast resources of people they're tapping overseas, and they get all of his phone calls.
All right, that was Senator Rand Paul yesterday saying, yeah, it's possible someone from the Obama administration, in fact, could have been spying on the Trump campaign. Here with reaction from CircaNews.com, Sarah Carter. All right, you and John Solomon have broke this story. I even think I misunderstood a part of it. I want to make sure we correct the record here. Your sources are telling you there were two warrants. One was a FISA warrant in the lead up to the campaign that, in fact, did allow surveillance, but it had nothing to do with Donald Trump, that particular warrant.
Absolutely, absolutely, that is correct. There was a FISA warrant taken out in October that was to oversee the whole election issue with Russia that had nothing, absolutely nothing to do with Trump, unless there could have been some like backdoor issues wherever they were monitoring some Russians and picked up some communications. And then there was a traditional FBI investigation.
So there was a second warrant.
Well, I don't even want to call it a warrant. What I want to call it is that there was a traditional FBI investigation into the server that was connected to Trump Tower. It was registered to Trump Tower. That investigation was to look into the server and to see there were pings between Trump Tower and a bank. And the FBI found absolutely nothing nefarious or criminal about it within that investigation and shut it down quickly.
So how long has it been? So there was some surveillance at some point of the server for Trump Tower, which is off-site, not exactly at the tower.
That's absolutely correct. There was surveillance with a server that was registered to Trump Tower businesses, and at that point, they went in for, I can say, less than 2 weeks. I don't want to give an exact date, but they went in for less than 2 weeks, found nothing nefarious, no evidence within that server to date
of collusion.
Of collusion with the Russians whatsoever, and it was shut down immediately.
Of all that you have heard in the media, is there even a shred of evidence in, what, the 7 months or so since they started this about collusion? Is there a shred of evidence? Not one bit.
According to my sources, not one bit of evidence. And I think, Sean, if there would have been evidence, we would have seen arrests, we would have seen something else, we would have seen some movement. But we haven't seen any movement afoot on any of that, at least to date. According to the very high-level senior sources that we've been speaking with, there is no evidence connecting Trump with Russian hacking.
So my next question is, when the New York Times and the BBC and McClatchy and to some extent the Washington Post and all these news organizations, they use the word wiretap. Okay, the president in a tweet said wiretap, but are we really just parsing words here? If in fact either intelligence or law enforcement were looking at a server for about a 2-week period of time in the lead up to the election, something was going on, and I think people have a right to know that A, they didn't find anything, and B, nothing nefarious on the political side of this happened. In other words, what did the president know? Who helped instigate this is a big question in my mind.
I think that's the main question. Who instigated the original search on the server? Why did the FBI pursue any type of investigation? I think when we can answer that question...
Well, hold that. Who initiated it, well, Hillary Clinton seems to have known about it.
Correct.
How did she know about it a week before the election? How did Harry Reid seemingly know about it before the election?
Correct. And there was a briefing, apparently. Some of the folks were briefed on this. That is what we believe. That is why Harry Reid came out and was making these big statements like there's going to be big evidence coming out between the Russia and the election hacking and the Trump campaign. And then remember, in December, that's when there were definite, I guess, you don't want to say, but people got access to Flynn's name, right, on the transcripts, which was a completely separate.
And now we learned, by the way, over the weekend from the Putin spokesperson that, in fact, Hillary's campaign had discussions with the Russians.
Absolutely. There were people on Hillary's campaign, people on Trump's campaign. This is a normal process.
I want to ask this. Is it possible, from a political perspective, that somebody high profile on the left used their power, influence, or perhaps political alliances to initiate all of this? That is a very deep question, because if that's the case, then we are using potentially intelligence and law enforcement as a means of criminalizing or investigating a political opponent or an opposition party during a presidential election.
I think you bring up a very, very good point, a very solid point. I mean, this is something that continuously needs to be investigated. But right now, if you look at the FISA, if you just look at what happened with Flynn, let's just use him as an example. His name was leaked by a senior U.S. official, according to David Ignatius, who wrote that column, right? A senior U.S. official leaked a classified name. This is a felony. It's a felony. They unmasked the name of a private conversation of a wiretap of a Russian ambassador to take down, apparently, it looks like it's on its face, to take down or expose a U.S. citizen who was speaking to a Russian ambassador. And that is a serious felony.
That was a felony? Yeah, all right. Next question. Where does your investigation go next? Because we're going to stay on this. Everyone in the media has been wrong. And you have gotten us the information that everybody's wanted corroborated. What's next in the investigation?
We are looking for the person that originally tipped off the FBI. And we are going to continue.
You think you know who it is?
I think I do know who it is.
We'll have you back tomorrow. Sarah Carter.
Thank you.
You have a lot of work to do between now and then.
I think I do.
So good to see you. Thank you.
Nice to see you too, Sean.
I appreciate it.